Los Angeles, Leonard Hamilton gives one of those what the hell looks. The question makes sense, just not to him. How does coaching basketball at a football school sustain him during the downtimes? When you say downtimes, what do you mean? Florida State's coach said in the minutes following a historic 75-60 Sweet 16 win Thursday night over Gonzaga. Well, you know, the times when you aren't going to the Elite Eight for the first time in 25 years. Or when you're not winning the ACC or beating Duke in North Carolina. You know, is most of the time for Leonard Hamilton. That doesn't make him much different than a lot of NCAA coaches. The difference is Hamilton toiling in Tallahassee for 16 seasons through 3 football coaches who won 5 ACC titles and 1 national championship during that time. That sort of success tends to deflect criticism in basketball at a football-first school. Hamilton wasn't having it. "We are the 3rd winningest program in the ACC over the last 12 years, he countered. "We're still clawing and scratching on clawing. When you're climbing the mountain, you don't have any time to rest. There is never any downtime. We're in a league with some of the most rich traditional programs in college basketball, but coming close doesn't count very much. It doesn't necessarily get you fired either." Hamilton, 69, is one of those coaches who is exactly where he should be. Florida State is not too big for him, nor is he too big for it. In 31 seasons as a head coach, Hamilton has finished an average of 2.84 games above .500. In 8 of those seasons, he had losing records. None of those have come since 2005, so Saturday's regional final could be the pinnacle of his career. Still, with a Final Four berth at stake, the West Regional Championship game looks more like a random Orange Bowl. No. 9 Florida State vs. Number 3 Michigan. Hamilton has gravitated to football schools in his head coaching career. 4 years at Oklahoma State begat a 10-year run at Miami, where he went to the tournament 3 times. 16 years at Tallahassee have made him the winningest hoops coach in FSU history. "We need to make sure we milk this for all that we can," Hamilton said. He's also probably due for a raise and an extension. Noles are on the cusp of their first Final Four since 1972 with a coach whose contract runs only through 2019-20. "I'm not talking to the media about that," Seminoles 80 Stan Wilcox said jovially. Hamilton hugs guard Terrence Mann at the end of the West Regional semifinals victory against Gonzaga. USATSI Hamilton is making this run after his team finished in a tie for 8th in the ACC. "I haven't had the luxury of inheriting basketball programs that were already successful with rich tradition," Hamilton said. But he isn't going anywhere either. Hamilton has done the NBA thing, finishing 19-63 in one forlorn season with owner Michael Jordan's Washington Wizards in 2001. He refers to having been to 3 Final Fours. Those came as an assistant at Kentucky. Yet these Seminoles bear a striking resemblance to some of those Wildcat teams. There are athletes all over the floor. Hamilton prefers a rotation of 10 or 11. There are 7-foot wingspans all over the floor. 8 players stand 6'6" or taller. Hamilton doesn't leave any of them out of the discussion, labeling his team 18 strong for the number of players on the roster. He's probably going to be locked in even more now, 6'6" guard Terrence Mann said of his coach. "He's a pretty serious guy. I feel deep down inside he's really excited for himself and his team." Florida State almost seems like the accidental elitist in the Final 8. First-round opponent Missouri hadn't been to the tournament in 7 years. Number 1 Xavier was shocker, sure, in the second round. But number 4 seed Gonzaga took the court knowing Killian Tilly, its no. 2 scorer and rebounder, had Ray aggravated and injured hip in warm-ups. "Watching them on tape, the more I watched them, I got a bad feeling in my stomach," Gonzaga coach Mark Few said. "I'm sure that it had a significant difference in their team," Hamilton said before adding, "It's interesting that we probably are the only ones believe we are capable of doing this. Florida State can't go hire a Greg Marshall or the next hot model like Chris Holtman from Butler at Ohio State. Those type of guys aren't coming to play second fiddle to football program, at least not when the interest level is this lopsided." Hamilton doesn't want to hear that either. But maybe he's done enough to be at a place like Florida State for 16 years. Only 3 players who have stayed all 4 years during that time haven't earned their degree, the coach said. That accomplishment fades when those 2 ACC powers ahead of him in the last 12 years remain way ahead. Fans who overvalue their place in the basketball universe have called for Hamilton's departure at times. And then September rolls around, and football soothes the Seminole soul. Nearing 70, Hamilton doesn't look much different from when he was at Oklahoma State from 1986 to 90. Hamilton had only even reached the Sweet 16 twice before this season. USATSI, I think my mother was 97, and obviously she passed some pretty good genes down to me, Hamilton said. I don't sleep very much, but I never have. So other than that, I try to eat right. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I do curse every once in a while. Other than that, I said some things that my mother probably wouldn't be happy with, God rest her soul. Since 2005-2006, FSU has that third best record in the ACC behind North Carolina and Duke. Some would say way behind considering those blue bloods. Still, someday soon Hamilton will pass Virginia's Terry Holland to become the 7th winningest coach in ACC history. Hamilton's teams have led the NCAA in field goal percentage defense in consecutive seasons, 2010-2011. But the gold standard is pros. 3 left last year, as